Have you ever been so exhausted, yet your mind simply won't stop? The same thought, circling again and again. Someone tells you, just relax, and somehow that makes it worse. Those words don't reach you, because the noise isn't coming from outside. It's coming from somewhere deep within, and you don't know how to quiet it. The Buddha understood this struggle long before psychology had a name for it. Today's teaching is for that restless place inside you, the one that's been waiting quietly to finally be heard. Late into the night, in an old monastery, a single oil lamp flickers. The other monks have long since fallen asleep, but one young practitioner sits alone against the wall, wide awake. Outside, the wind hums low, leaves brush against each other in the dark. He isn't sleepless. Not exactly. It's more that something inside his head won't stop moving. Thoughts calling to other thoughts, words crowding out words, and the night deepens without any sense of where any of it is going. Deep in his chest, in some quieter place, something seems to be trying to speak. But the noise in his head is too loud. He can't quite hear it. Some nights are like that. He picks up a stone from the floor beside him, smooth, cool, worn by years of handling, and simply holds it in his palm. Not to think about it, not to name it, just to feel its weight pressing back against his skin. Slowly, the thoughts begin to thin, the way fog lifts not because anyone pushed it, but because the morning simply came. He sits there a while longer, the stone still warm now from his hand. The lamp gives one slow shudder, then steadies. Somewhere outside, a single bird calls out, too early for dawn. The Dhammapada, a collection of verses left behind by the Buddha, begins with these words: "The mind precedes all actions. Mind is their master. Mind is their maker. If one acts or speaks with a troubled mind, suffering follows, as the wheel follows the hoof of an ox." And then immediately after, "The mind precedes all actions. Mind is their master. Mind is their maker. If one acts or speaks with a clear mind, happiness follows, like a shadow that never departs." 2 verses, mirror images, the same structure, with only one thing changed: a troubled mind and a clear one. One day, a young monk named Tissa came to the Buddha with a question about these words. He had only recently left home to take up the robes, and something had been troubling him. He bowed, then spoke quietly. "Teacher, I don't understand something. Every day I try to do good. I try not to hurt others, to hold back my anger, to choose my words carefully, and yet by evening I always find myself filled with regret. I said too much again. I made a face I didn't mean to. I got irritated. If the mind is truly the master, why does mine refuse to do what I ask of it?" The Buddha didn't answer right away. He looked at Tissa for a moment. "Tissa, what did you eat today?" Tissa blinked, confused. "Some rice porridge, from the alms round." "How did it taste?" "The salt was a little thin, it had gone cold." "And did you find it good or did you find it wanting?" Tissa thought for a moment. Then he said honestly, "At first, I was a little disappointed. I kept thinking about yesterday's porridge. It had been warm. But as I kept eating, and the hunger slowly left me, I felt something like gratitude." "I see," the Buddha said and smiled faintly. "There were 2 voices inside you. The first said, 'Yesterday's was better.' The second said, 'This is enough.' Which one do you think was really yours?" Tissa went quiet. The Buddha continued. "The Dhammapada says, mind is the master. But what have you been calling mind all this time? The stream of words and thoughts flowing through your head. That's what you've been calling your mind, isn't it? The voice that compares, the voice that judges, the voice that regrets. You've been gathering all of those together and thinking, 'This is me.' Isn't it?" Tissa asked. "Have you ever watched a river?" the Buddha said. "The surface has waves. Wind disturbs them. Rocks make them curl and swirl. If you take those waves to be the river itself, then the river is always in chaos. But underneath, there is a current. However wild the surface becomes, the current below does not change. The waves are the thoughts, and the current beneath is..." Tissa searched for the word. "You don't need to name it," the Buddha said gently. "Only know this. The waves and the current are not the same thing. That desire to be good, the reason you feel regret each evening, it comes from somewhere. The fact that you can feel regret means the current is still moving in you. It is still there. Tissa felt something loosen in his chest. He couldn't say exactly what it was. He sat there for a while longer, not speaking, watching a gecko make its way slowly across the monastery wall, pausing, still, then moving again, as if it had all the time in the world. That evening, when the cold porridge came again, he ate it without thinking of yesterday's. The opening verse of the Dhammapada is not a promise that keeping your mind positive will make life go smoothly. What it points to is something more fundamental. Everything begins in the mind. But here's where people often fall into a quiet trap. What do we mean by mind? We tend to call the stream of words inside our heads our feelings, our inner voice. The anxiety, the urgency, the anger, the regret, the constant comparison. We bundle all of it together and think, this is my true self speaking. But pause for a moment. Is that rushing, crowded voice really you? When anger rises, where does it come from? Usually from a hidden assumption. This is how things should have gone. That person should have acted differently. Anger appears the moment a condition is broken, which means the suffering isn't in the anger itself. It's in the grip we have on the invisible rule that got violated. Something in us is clutching an image of how things ought to be, and when reality refuses to match it, suffering rushes in to fill the gap. This is what Buddhism means when it speaks of the root of suffering. It's not that something is missing from your life. It's that the mind has built a picture. This is how it must be. And when the world doesn't match the picture, pain is born. Suffering doesn't arrive from the outside. It emerges from the collision between the picture and the reality. The Dhammapada calls this a troubled mind, a mind that is clouded. And that cloudiness isn't just cruelty or laziness. It includes the rigid sense of should, the compulsion to compare, the habit of placing yourself and others in the dock of judgment. A mind layered over with all of that is what the verse calls troubled. Now, when people here listen to your true inner voice, many imagine there is a second self somewhere inside them, one who already holds all the right answers. If only they could dig down to that truer self, all the confusion would dissolve. But Buddhism gently unsettles that very assumption. There is no fixed true self waiting to be uncovered. What you experience as your inner voice in this moment is a voice shaped by conditions, the state of your body, your relationships, what happened yesterday, a word you learned in childhood. Stack all of that together, and a voice arises. Tomorrow, a slightly different voice may appear. That isn't the mind lying to you. That is simply what the mind is. If one acts with a clear mind, happiness follows, but that clarity doesn't mean forcing yourself into a better state. It isn't waiting for the waves to stop. It's something closer to this, watching the waves be waves, and not being swept away by them. That, I think, is what the Dhammapada means by a clear mind. A monk I once heard of was asked by a student, "How do I know when my mind is clear?" He picked up a glass of muddy water from the table, set it down without a word, and they both watched the silt slowly settle to the bottom. He didn't explain anything further. The student sat with that image for 3 years before he felt he understood it. So where does this land in the ordinary texture of modern life? The first place, work. Someone says something, a manager, a colleague, and you feel a flash of heat. Or a meeting ends with your idea dismissed, and hours later, lying in bed, that moment is still replaying. Why did they say that? I wasn't wrong. The words loop and loop. In those moments, most of us reach for one of two explanations. Either the other person was wrong, or we were. Neither answer tends to bring much relief. The suffering just continues under a different name. The Dhammapada asks a different question entirely. What conditions created this pain? The anger, the wounded feeling, they surface because an invisible picture was disrupted. A picture of how you deserved to be treated, how the relationship was supposed to work. Just noticing the outline of that picture gently, without judgment, can create a little space. Suddenly neither they were terrible, nor I was worthless, feels quite so absolute. The second place, the people you love. Why won't they understand? I care so much, why can't they feel it? These questions live in many hearts for years. Partners, parents, children. The longing to be understood is a deeply human need. There is nothing wrong with it. But when that longing hardens into if they don't understand me, I can't bear it, there is often a fixed expectation underneath, pressed against the other person like a mold they're supposed to fit. And here, the Buddhist teaching of interdependence has something quiet to offer. You and the other person only exist in relation to each other. When you wait for them to change, you are quietly assuming that you will stay the same. But a relationship is not one person shifting while the other stays fixed. It moves, or it doesn't, together. The third place, I don't know what I want. This is something many people in their 30s and 40s carry, the sense that they can't locate what they truly want from life. So they read books, attend workshops, search. But the direction the Dhammapada points isn't outward. What you want is not a buried treasure to be excavated. It's something that arises right now from the conditions of this moment. What stirs something in you today? What are you doing when the noise inside gets a little quieter? Rather than traveling far to find it, you might simply notice, in this moment, what feels slightly lighter. Which direction lifts the weight, even a little. You may not need to search at all. Sometimes when the searching stops, something that was always already there becomes visible. When exactly, no one can say, but while the mind is loud, it's hard to hear. A monk was once asked how he knew what to do with his life. He said, "I watched which tasks made me forget to eat, not which ones made him feel proud or useful or admired." That was enough information to take one step. The same capacity lives in you. You don't need a monk's robe or a mountain retreat, only the willingness to pay attention, once, to what the body already knows. A walk you keep finding reasons to take, a conversation that leaves you fuller rather than emptied. These are not small things dressed up as clues, they are the clues themselves. If there's one small thing you might try, just one, here it is. Tonight, when something is sitting with you, a worry about work, a tension with someone you love, an unease about the future, before you try to think your way through it, try this instead. Take a piece of paper and write down exactly what's moving through your head right now. I'm worried about this. They said that to me. I should have done this differently. No editing, no tidying. Just let what's flowing inside flow onto the page. In the Buddha's time, practitioners called this observation. Not trying to change the mind, just watching clearly what is actually happening inside it. Writing is one form of that watching, and something usually happens when you do it. A voice that felt enormous in your head looks surprisingly small on paper. Or you realize that what felt like an endless swirl was actually the same two phrases, cycling over and over. Listening to the mind's voice doesn't mean obeying it. It means letting it be exactly what it is, and stepping back just far enough to see it. Not trying to stop the waves, just knowing the waves are there. I can't promise this will change anything, but slowly the difference between the waves and the deeper current may begin to feel more real. And maybe, not every night, but some nights, the noise will settle a little. That is all Buddhism quietly asks. One monk I knew kept a small notebook in his robe pocket for 30 years, not to record wisdom, but to empty himself of what was already there. By the end of his life, the pages were not full of insights. They were full of ordinary fears, small jealousies, the same recurring doubts. And he said that was exactly the point. He had learned to meet each wave without shame, without surprise, the way an old fisherman greets the tide. Not because it no longer moves him, but because he has stood at that shore so many times before. The notebook was not a record of his failures. Tonight, in a moment when it gets quiet, if there's a voice inside you trying to be heard, what is it saying? You don't have to answer that. Just lean toward it, gently, for a moment. Like a candle flame that doesn't demand you stare into it, only that you draw close enough to feel its warmth. Maybe it has been waiting a long time, the way a letter sits unopened on a table, patient, holding whatever it holds. And perhaps, like that letter, you already know something of what is inside, have always known, which is why your hand has hovered near it so many times, without quite reaching. There is no urgency here, no deadline by which you must finally break the seal. Only this evening, this breath, and the quiet that asks nothing of you except that you remain. In a previous teaching, we explored what happens when you actually follow that inner voice, the courage and stillness it requires. You'll find that episode linked in the description below. The Dhammapada's opening verse has survived more than 2,500 years. Mind is the master. Mind is the maker. These words were never meant as a warning. I think they were meant as a kind of care. Your world and your mind cannot be separated. So please, don't ignore what is happening inside you. Every one of us has nights when the thoughts won't stop, when one worry pulls another behind it, and sleep doesn't come. On those nights, maybe you don't need to silence anything. Maybe you can let the noise be noisy and simply notice. Somewhere beneath it, slightly apart from it, there is another place in you, quieter, still watching. Tissa, the young monk in this story, is said to have told his own students about that night for the rest of his life. The Buddha's words stayed with him. The fact that you can feel regret means the current is still moving. If you are sitting with uncertainty right now, if you don't quite know where you're headed, but something brought you here to listen, that itself might be the current in you, still moving. It doesn't need a name. It doesn't need to know its destination yet. Just don't forget that it's there. Some mornings you wake and nothing has changed. The same problems are waiting, the same unanswered questions. And yet something in you is fractionally different. The way a river looks the same from the bank, but has already carried last night's leaves far downstream. Tissa, they say, woke the morning after that conversation and ate his breakfast in silence, tasted the rice, felt the bowl warm in his hands, and that was enough. He had not arrived anywhere. He had simply stopped pretending he was standing still. The same is true for you, sitting wherever you are now, in a chair, on a train, in a room that may feel too quiet or not quiet enough. Nothing grand is required. Only this, the willingness to stop pretending, even for a moment, that the current isn't moving. That too is a beginning. Pause. Whose face came to mind while you were listening today? One story a day. In a week, your words will change. In a month, your eyes will change. In a year, the same world will look completely different.